Dear Chair Dembro and Chair Holby and committee members, my name is Jim Hauser, and my wife and I own and operate Hawthorne Auto Clinic in Southeast Portland. I'm also co-chair of the Main Street Alliance of Oregon, a network of over 2,500 small business owners from across the state. I and the Main Street Alliance of Oregon support improving the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2018. An increase that, by the way, will add about $3.2 billion into Oregon's economy by 2018. Let me tell you about small business stake in this improved minimum wage campaign. Hawthorne Auto Clinic is celebrating its 32nd year this month, and I think I know a thing or two about small business success. Our principal business asset next to our customers are our employees. I believe, and experience has borne me out, that if you take care of your employees, they will take care of you. We provide good wages and benefits, including to our student interns and low-wage workers, and have for all of our 32 years. The average tenure of our full-time employee is 17 years. That kind of employee loyalty is critical to the success of any small business. Most small business people understand this basic business reality. The biggest hurdle small business owners face is being able to provide decent wages and benefits is the competition with national chains like the McDonald's and the Walmarts, who are notorious for driving down the cost of labor by suppressing wages and benefits. As much as we would like not to be, small business owners are often trapped by the power of the multinationals. Reasonable employment standards, such as the proposed increase in minimum wage, levels the business playing field by requiring all employers to play by the same rules, enabling small business owners to do what they know needs to be done, like paying living wages for their enterprises to thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. You're welcome.
Thank you, Chair Dembro.
And you don't have to be right up against it. You can just sit down.
All right. And thank you, Chair Holby and members of the committee. My name is Yute. I wear a few hats as owner of MacBCX, providing computer training support in Hollywood. And I'm also a member, SGM, of the MSAO Leadership Council. And I'm also the president of our Neighborhood Business Association in Hollywood and Currents. The Hollywood Boosters has been organized since 1934 for the collective economic and social well-being of people who live and work in our community. And I can say with confidence that the visionary founders of the Hollywood Boosters, closet communists as they were, could support $15 an hour now, as I do support for the economic and social well-being of our community. If given the means to, I know that small businesses would in a heartbeat pay $15 an hour. So the key is if given the means to. The question is how to raise the cost of wage in a way that it makes sense for small business owners to absorb the costs and for us to be competitive as well. Frankly, as a small business owner, I struggle month to month. And June will be our 4th year in business. It's a little battle that we've won, but it's always a constant struggle. And the fears of small business owners that you've heard are genuine and needs to be addressed. The discussion needs to be not just about raising costs. So we'll leave that aside. I believe that our communities need to decide what's right. So when you're voting, I hope that you take that into account, that our communities individually and collectively can make the decisions for ourselves whether or not we can support $15 an hour now. I think that Seattle has shown a way that can make this happen. Stagnant raise in 2 years. But there's also the question of what happens after that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Evening, Chairs Dembro and Holby. Thank you, members of the committee. I'm Iris Hodge. I'm the organizer of the Main Street Alliance. I spend my day speaking to small business owners across the state. And day in and day out, I hear from small business owners that they understand the value of increasing the minimum wage. They know, as we've heard, the best way to better our economies is to increase the amount of customers that they have. And in order to do that, what I hear from these business owners is that they want to put more money in the pockets of their customers. They've also spoken to me about employee retention and how much it costs to replace workers who, when they're not treated with respect, And given the fair living wage that they leave and how much that costs their business to replace those workers. We have business owners across the state. Barbershop owner Mike Nagel in the Dalles knows that in his small community, increasing wages there would do good for his business. We've submitted written testimony from multiple business owners that can't be here, but in a nutshell, it's across the state. I've heard that this will be good for small business owners, and I just wanted to share and give you the opportunity to know that that written testimony is waiting for you. Thank you.
Thank you for the keys. Thank you all three.
Amy Merkler, Bob Schaefer, Angela Bailey, and Matthew Vogt.
And then on deck will be Cynthia Munoz, Deanna Lundgren, Wendy Whitke, and Shelley Fuller.
Chair Mobley and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to share my testimony. I'm Matthew Ho, and I own a small business called Ohana Hawaiian Cafe in Portland. And before my 15 now friends boycotts my restaurant, please hear me out. I am actually opposed to this, these bills. Actually, I believe we're all driven by very similar motivations. I opened my business, one of the big reasons why I wanted to do it was to create an environment that would draw customers in, to create a place where people can enjoy themselves, spend a little money, and employ a lot of Oregonians. And as I evaluate wage given for a said employee, there are three main criteria I consider: workload, skill level, and one of the most important to me is employee's need. I'm just going to give you a quick example. And I also believe that a happy, financial, stable employee is the greatest asset to my business. So a little example I have here is, let's see. I have an employee, Julie. She wants a job that's fun, rewarding, with low stress, where money's not really a big issue for her. But I also have Aaron, who has a newborn child, who has to buy diapers, pay for gas, and groceries for the family. And I've been afforded the opportunity to adjust their wages so that Julie gets less workload, less stress, less money, where Aaron gets more money to pay for the necessities while I work with him to increase his skill level to further justify his wage work. Both are happily equal but get paid differently. And so what I also like to hear is solutions on how to implement this. The person just before me was about to address those beyond increasing prices, but increasing prices will also decrease volume of my dishes going out. So it's not going to increase my profit, and I'm still going to end up with a finite amount of income or finances to pay for my labor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Huff.
Co-chairs Denbro, Holby, members of the committees. My name's Bob Schaefer. I'm general manager of Noble Mountain Tree Farm. We're a Mid-Valley Christmas tree producer producing over 500,000 trees a year. For your information, Oregon is the #1 Christmas tree producing state in the nation, producing over 6.5 million trees annually, of which over 90% is shipped out of state. North Carolina is the second largest producer in the nation. North Carolina's minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Growing, harvesting, and shipping Christmas trees is extremely labor intensive. In the last 2 years, our company has lost 6% of our market share in California to Fraser Fir from North Carolina, being shipped to what 3 years ago were strictly retailers of Oregon trees. It's a sad commentary when Oregon agriculture producers are unable to profitably compete with East Coast growers because of high labor costs. In fact, the majority of Oregon agricultural products are shipped outside of Oregon. And in agriculture, we need to be competitive to survive. I strongly recommend you hold off passage of these bills for a few years until other parts of the country catch up and we have national parity in wages. Because, unfortunately, Oregon is not the economic center or leader of the world.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Drexler Phelan. I am one of the owners of Drexler Farms along with my two brothers. We employ 45 full-time employees and an additional 60 high school and college-age students every summer during harvest. We take great pride in our family business and in providing the youth in our area with job opportunities and teaching them a valuable work ethic. Our full-time employees all make above the proposed $15 per hour. Should a 16-year-old with zero experience start at a wage that others have worked hard to achieve? Please do not confuse a starting wage with a career wage. I am here today not so much because of the impact this bill will have on my business, as I am about the negative impact I feel this will have on the state of Oregon. Oregon farmers are price takers, not price setters. Our products are sold on the global market. We don't have the ability to increase our prices and remain competitive. Oregon exports 80% of our agricultural products. Raising the minimum wage to the highest in the nation will put Oregon's farmers and ranchers at an extreme disadvantage. No one here tonight has addressed the seniors and those with disabilities living on fixed income. They are not going to get a wage hike. We've all said, and there's no doubt, that food costs will rise. In fact, the cost of nearly everything will rise. For families, those here this evening, raising minimum wage will ultimately raise child care costs. Why create higher inflation and lose purchasing power? Why exacerbate the problems of low-income families and negatively impact the businesses who provide these individuals with jobs? Over the past decade, Drexler Farms has embraced technology and automation for efficiency gains and to make the work of our employees easier. Now, we'll be forced to embrace automation in order to replace them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Good evening, Chair, members of the committee and the committee. Thank you for meeting with us this evening. I am a second generation nursery owner and operator. My husband and I operate a tree nursery, specialty crops, just outside of Gresham, Oregon. I'm a fourth generation farmer.
Your name is?
Angela Bailey. Thank you. Thank you. An elevated minimum wage puts Oregon employers at an unfair disadvantage versus other states. Elevated minimum wage forces the price for all goods and services to go up. In my mind, this hurts the very people that the change is intended to help. An elevated minimum wage eliminates the incentive for employers to support and create entry-level jobs, as well as reward loyal, faithful, and responsible employees with bonuses and with wage increases. From a personal perspective, the elevated minimum wage is likely to affect my nursery in the following ways. It will force us to eliminate our very small workload, labor force. It will force us to rely more on contract labor, which in our experience means that the workers themselves are actually getting less money, since the crew organizer generally takes a cut. It will force us to rely more on automation, which would generally be purchased outside of our state, sometimes outside of our country, which means more money is actually going out of our state to purchase equipment, support, repairs, and maintenance. It will force us to become a much less reliable employer. Instead of being able to adjust our workload such that we keep employees busy year-round, we will instead be forced to bring in contract crews to do things on an as-needed basis, which then brings us back to the crew actually getting less than more. It will significantly decrease our ability to reward good, faithful, and loyal employees, as our margins will likely go down. Currently, Oregon has the second highest minimum wage in the country. Simply, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, so next up, Cynthia Munoz, Deanna Lundgren, Wendy Lipke, and Shelley Fuller.
On deck, Cameron Howell, Bess Willis, Casey Bloom, and Carlton Tilly.
Okay, whoever wants to start.
I'm going first. Hello, everyone. Chairs and members of the Senate Workforce and House Business and Labor Committees. My name is Deanna Lundgren, and I work for the Corvallis School District as a lunch lady. And I'm actually going to change what I wrote on my paper, and my union's going to get mad at me for it. But you've heard my story a dozen times, and I can see your eyes flashing over. So I'm going to make it short and sweet. I'm poor. I can't pay my bills. Rent is astronomical. I have to have roommates. I'm on food stamps. It's hard. But coming here has been really, really eye-opening. And I still support Senate Bill 610 and House Bill 2009 because I believe that the higher minimum wage will help me and my coworkers and the students that I serve have a better chance at higher education, pay our bills, avoid relying on food stamps. And I hear a lot of fear in this room when I sit here. There's people who are afraid of losing their houses. There's people who are afraid of losing their businesses. And I think that with $15 an hour, there's a way for all of us to be happy. And that even though we're all scared and we're in this room and we're, begging you and crying and saying, please, please, please do something that will fix this. At the end of the day, it's all going to be okay and we can adjust and someone can write another bill that will help deal with any effects, positive or negative, that this bill has. And you'll all be right back here again, listening to us again, to help continue improvement because everything is always changing and we can't just stop change because we're afraid of it. Thank you.
Chairs and members of the committee, my name is Cynthia Munoz, and I'm also going to ignore my testimony because you also know my story. And just by listening to the statistics, I am the statistic. So when you look at me, these are the people you're telling, your crisis is not important. By not supporting this bill, you're telling these workers, your crisis is not important. And the crisis I've heard is all speculation. I speculate these numbers, while my crisis is today. My son and I are very poor. I'm an educated person. I have gone to school. I went through all the loops. I tell my students every day, this is the way out. Educate yourselves. What hypocrisy. What hypocrisy for me to turn and tell them and still be in poverty. It's shameful. Thank you.
Chairs and members of the committee, I'm actually going to read from my testimony.
There's always the good student.
My name is Lindy Webke. I'm a net custodian at South Eugene High School. We have over 1,500 students in my building, and I alone am responsible for cleaning over 53,000 square feet every night. This is not a simple job of emptying trash, sweeping floors, and leaving. Every room must conform to OSHA rules as well as fire codes. I have a degree in criminal justice and sociology. Research tells me that the higher wages lead to less crime. I also have student debt that I can't afford to pay. I drive a 22-year-old vehicle that I cannot afford to replace. I am my own mechanic because I can't afford to pay someone to do it for me. I am the working poor. My clothes are secondhand because $20 for a new pair of pants is a week's worth of groceries for me. I am the working poor. Last year, due to the actions of my former roommate, I lost my place to live. It was foreclosed on. She abandoned it and left me to deal with the aftermath, which include a stack of disconnect notices. I went without water and electricity in the winter time. I am the working poor. I don't stop for coffee. I don't get to go to lunches, dinners, movies, none of it, because I'm the working poor. I have no dependents that live with me, no pets. I see my 16-year-old daughter every other weekend and on holidays. She tries to understand we can't go bowling. She knows movies cost money, and I have to budget to buy her gummy bears. I'm tired of telling her, I'm sorry, but we can't afford fill in the blank. with anything that costs money. I'm tired of being the working poor. I work 40 hours a week, every week, all 12 months, every year, and I don't make $15 an hour. I can't pay my bills with my self-esteem.
Up next, Jim Howell, Bess Willis, Rebecca Wills, Stacy Bloom, and Carlton Gilly.
And on deck we have Ramon Ramirez, Bernardo Torres, and Dalia Andrade.
My name is Vanessa, and I'm here on behalf of the Gresham Area Chamber of Commerce. When we listened to testimony just like we had, we as business owners and like you in this building want nothing but the best for those in our community. We must remember that independent businesses, small businesses, give 80 times more, they're 80 times more likely to give to philanthropic causes than big boxes and so forth. There's 490 members approximately in our chamber, and we strongly oppose raising the minimum wage. Not because we don't want to help people, but because we want what's best for Oregon. And I know that's what you all want also. We want businesses to locate here, to grow here, and to expand here. But did that happen in American manufacturing? No, it didn't. It went to where there were lower wages. So when we have higher wages in this state, businesses are not going to look friendly upon us to expand in our areas. We had testimony from our members in our chamber. One is a small coffee shop owner. He was thinking about expanding. Just by talking about this, they've decided not to expand to another location. We met with a local furniture store in the area, and they can locate in 3 different states. They're not going to choose Oregon. We met with a regional bank. They're going to build banks in other states, not in Oregon. So we're going to lose the construction, and we're going to lose the jobs. But the most prime testimony came from Kathy Weiss of my father's house, and she told me I could share this. She is a dynamo in the homelessness, thing. She has built the largest homeless shelter in the United States without a dime of government money. And she strongly opposes this because it's not the root cause of the homelessness problem.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stacy Bloom. I co-own Salem Pub in Troutdale with my husband, Jason, and I'm also a board member of the Gresham Chamber of Commerce. We run our restaurant, sports bar for 4.5 years now, and we always wanted to own a business, and it was a dream come true. And I, like many people, started out at minimum wage, which when I started was $4.75 an hour. My last job was at $7 an hour. I paid for college, and it can happen. I had to work a lot. We currently pay well over the minimum wage to our staff. We employ 23 people, up from 17 when we took it over. We pay over minimum wage because we're a business that cares about our staff, and we retain them and appreciate them in that way. But with real numbers, I would like to share with you that we paid over 33,000 hours of wages, which totaled $478,000. That was my payroll. A raise of $5.75 an hour, which I would have to give across the board to all my staff to keep things fair and keep the animosity down, would take my payroll to $692,000. That actually is $214,000 more than I'm paying now, and we're a successful business, but that would put me at a deficit of $129,000. So what is the solution to overcome that? Well, we would cut out our income because that's what business owners do. They take the cut first. So if we eliminate our income and eliminate our kitchen manager, we are still now at a $14,000 deficit, now making us have to work for tips in order to continue to pay our bills. That is not what we would like to do. We would like to continue to keep our staff and keep people employed and Other things that have to go away, our 401k plan. I don't know that many restaurants do that, but we do. We also do a lot of charities, Wounded Warrior Project, Special Olympics, Adult Learning Systems of Oregon, and that would go away as well. Thanks.
My name is Cameron Howell. I live in Albany, work in Corvallis, and work at a company that employs 160 people throughout the Willamette Valley. And I'm a concerned citizen that is not a supporter of the House bills that are up today. I think that the actions that are being proposed are perhaps short-sighted, and I think that they'll tend to drive general inflation faster than the so-called increase in income when it comes to these small businesses that are out there trying to operate. I actually participate in the Albany Chamber of Commerce, and I've had discussions with a number of my friends, my customers, the people who I work with day in and day out, and some of the insights that they've shared with me are when trying to balance these competing interests, business owners are going to have to raise prices. Those that aren't able to raise prices are going to be in a tough position. We've heard from a lot of agricultural people that won't be able to raise their prices because they live in an economy that extends beyond the borders of Oregon. Businesses will have to reduce their expenses, and one of the places to go to do that is taking benefits away from employees, which most businesses don't want to do. They won't be able to take good care of the employees that they're working with. Some businesses will close or choose to relocate. I know my company isn't in a position where we're able to relocate, and so we're in it for the long haul. Whatever you decide, we'll deal with. That being said, it doesn't make it any easier on the small business owners in trying to provide working wage jobs to the employees if their hands are by minimum wage. Thank you.
My name's Carlton Tilley, live on Silverton, Oregon, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me tonight. One of the concerns that I do have on the impact of this straight across the board is the impact not just to me and myself as a small business owner, but the fallout to all the other businesses. Right now, just the very threat of the proposals on the table, it's also given a lot of companies weak knees with the given mandates that already came into effect and the effect that they've had. You know, we just had, in the local area here, we just had a pretty fair-sized employer, 208 employees. This gentleman was once hailed by Governor Kitzhaber as an insourcing jobs that stayed right here in Oregon. And that company would be Mastercraft. Now, as a local company, all those jobs, in the fear of what's coming, they closed their doors. Those jobs are gone. And now it does look like those jobs has went overseas. You know, when people bid contracts, they can't afford to count in for $15 an hour, especially on existing contracts. You know what, if I had existing contracts like that too, I'd close my doors too. You know, as a small business owner, you know, I'm familiar with some of the people around here. And, you know, and just for survival, I've had to move some of my business down to Texas. It's not that I brag about it or whatever. It's that I'm getting old. I've worked hard all my life. And those costs and factors that these other people talk about, that's a real impact, you know. I want to be able to contribute to the community. I deal with people on one part of my business that think that it's still here, that actually want to come to work for me, you know, and some of them, they don't care that the minimum wage is $9 an hour. They don't care that it's $9.20. They want a job. They're making offers for, hey, I can't do that because that's not the law, and I'd like to pay more. But that part of my business doesn't function like that.
All right, next up, Ramon Ramirez, Bernardo Torres, and Dalia Conga.
And on deck, Paula Dollar, Carl Detweiler, Linda Mohas, and Vinnie Barron.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Bernarda Torres.
Good evening, my name is Bernardo Torres.
Soy la madre de 3 hijos.
I'm a mother of 3 grown children.
Actualmente soy trabajadora de agricultura del estado de Oregon.
I'm a farm worker here in the state of Oregon.
Vengo trabajando cada cultivo.
Have worked every major crop in the state of Oregon.
Recogiendo desde fresa, trabajando en el cultivo del ajo, trabajando desde 1991.
I have worked in Oregon since 1991, picking strawberries, all the way from picking strawberries to picking garlic.
En todo este tiempo nunca he recibido un aumento salarial, solamente hasta cuando el estado de Oregon hace el aumento.
Since that time, I have never earned a wage increase in all that time, only when minimum wage was increased by the state of Oregon.
Lo único que gano en salario recibido y nunca he recibido ningún salario ni beneficios médicos.
In all that time, I have never earned a benefits. I have never earned a medical plan.
Ni vacaciones.
I don't even earn vacation pay.
Es por eso que estoy aquí apoyando para que se apruebe la medida SB 610.
And that is why I'm here to support the Senate bill and the House bill to raise the minimum wage.
Al menos para que tengamos un salario decente.
So that we can earn a decent wage.
Y que aprueben esta ley el senador 610 y el HB del 2009.
So in that manner, I'm here in supporting Senate Bill 610 and House Bill 2009.
First of all, thank you for your time and for listening to me. I am a sophomore at Liberal College. I'm here today to tell you why I support the Senate bill.
Could you say your name out loud, please?
My name is Dahlia.
Thank you, Dahlia. Why don't you move that microphone over to you? Thanks.
I'm here to tell you why I support the Senate Bill 610 and the House Bill 209. My parents have been day laborers and farm workers their whole lives. They have done so in order to provide a roof over my head and food on the table. I've seen my parents struggle my whole life to give me the best they can so that I can live, so I never have to worry about anything other than my education. When my father passed away, my mother carried alone the weight of providing for me. Now that I am in college, she does the best she can to help me. Through financial aid, I do have work study, but it isn't enough. I struggle a lot financially, and with the help from my mom, I've gone through some tough, difficult times. I'm very proud of all the hard work my mom does. I see her wake up early in the morning to work out in the fields, sometimes in cold and rainy days, coming home with a sore back, covered in mud, with blisters on her hands. Because of the hard work my mother does, I find it of the utmost importance that she be paid the salary that is fitting. My mother deserves a raise in minimum wage. Oregon deserves a raise in minimum wage. Thank you.
Please support from applause.
Chair Hovey and Chair Zembro, my name is Ramon Ramirez. I'm president of the Oregon Farm Worker Union, Piccoon. And I am here today to strongly support an increase in the state's minimum wage. I'll have to tell you that I've been coming to this building since 1982. And in 1989, I was part of the group that passed the minimum wage, the first minimum wage increase for as long as I I can remember. And during that time, we would hear testimony after testimony that the economic situation was going to get worse for Oregonians, that businesses were going to go out, and it didn't happen. And that's when we raised the minimum wage from $3.35 to $4.25. I got to say that in the case of Bernardo, she works hard. This is her daughter over here. She goes to Linfield College, and even with earning minimum wage, she's put her through college. She's putting her through college. And for farm workers, who are the lowest paid workers in America, we deserve more than that. Farm workers have been excluded from every major piece of legislation, not only in this building, but in the country. Farm workers are not covered by the National Labor Relations Act, haven't been there since 1935. We were supposed to get picked up, never got picked up, and we're in 2015 today, and we still don't enjoy those rights. We should be ashamed of ourselves that we can't afford to pay minimum wage to farm workers, or more than minimum wage to people that put food on our table day in and day out, because we all have to eat. I just want to say that we're here to support an increase in minimum wage. We deserve it. We got to correct a historical mistake that we made back in 1935 by not including farm workers in the National Labor Relations Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you all for